From Bronx streets scarred by absent dads and petty predators, one kid learned, weakness invites wolves. Meet Chris Delia, NYPD veteran of 13 raw years, a Marine and Guardian forged in chaos, all to shield the little guy from becoming prey. Abandoning a brother to boot camp ghosts, courtyard confessions, and raising warriors, not victims, in a world that preys on the vulnerable. Chris bears the badge's brutal toll, hyper-vigilance, family fractures, and unshakable drive to make a difference. This is his story. Can you introduce yourself for me, please?
Absolutely. My name's Chris Delia.
Chris, who did you work for?
So I worked for the NYPD.
For how long?
13 years.
13 years. Chris, I thought it was interesting before we started recording here, kind of a motivation of why you became a police officer was, I guess, kind of sticking up for the little guy.
So I grew up in a home that was, destabilized. My father left when I was young. And one of the things you learn real quick when your dad leaves, right, it threw my mother into turmoil, guys coming in and out. And, these are, people don't realize, but these are guys who, they didn't want their own kids. They sure as heck don't want the woman's kids. And, so you end up fending for yourself. And I grew up in the Bronx, bouncing around all over the Bronx, and I learned that I had to defend myself, and I learned that, if you're weak, you become a victim, and I saw a lot of people becoming victimized, and I used to get angry because I'm like, wait a minute, you're a person who could help people, but instead you choose to victimize people. So that set me on my career. Before I actually joined the NYPD for a very short period of time, I did what was called the auxiliary police, thinking I was going to protect the neighborhood. Not a group of people you want to work with. They're a bunch of wannabes and they get themselves in trouble. So then I left for the Marine Corps, and after my service in the Marine Corps, I joined the NYPD.
What age do you think you wanted to be a police officer?
I wanted to be a police officer, to be honest with you, from probably around, I'm going to say 10 years old. There was a detective, a guy by the name of Eddie Heaton. Detective Eddie Heaton was a friend of the family's, but I never knew, and I still don't know his whole thing because he's so much older than me, but I knew that every time my father would beat up my mother, Eddie would show up. And Eddie was a big guy, and I knew when he came through the door, I felt comfortable. And it was actually Eddie who reached out to me because I was getting into trouble of my own. And Eddie said to me, why don't you take the test for the NYPD? I'm like, I only have a GED. I'm not going to get, and they're like, no, they'll take you. But Eddie, as I told you before we started recording, saved me from getting hurt by officers because I was doing some stupid stuff. Told me, you better get out of town, and that's when I joined the Marine Corps.
Yeah, can you relate that story about what happened?
Sure. So I was hanging with a group of guys that we were getting into trouble. We were committing petty crimes. We were doing stupid things. And so my mother worked until like 9 o'clock every night. I took care of my brother. We were throwing one of my usual parties at my mother's in my apartment, and we decided, wouldn't it be funny if we pretended to rob the people that were coming to the party? So me and my friend Mike Pepe, we grabbed a couple of pellet guns, looked real. As people were coming up the stairs, we were putting the guns to their head, get in the apartment, I'll kill you right here. And they were laughing and screaming and yelling, a bunch of kids not realizing that the neighbors are looking out and like, oh my gosh, these kids are crazy, they're kidnapping, they're robbing people. They call the police. I hear people running up the stairs, and I think it's other friends trying to, get us. So I point the gun down the stairs, and coming around the corner is a cop, and I'm like, freeze, I'll kill you. Well, all of a sudden a cop comes from the other way, dropped the gun. I froze, I couldn't drop the gun. And I'm screaming at him, it's a toy. He's like, I don't care. He's like, drop the gun or I'm gonna blow your brains out. Cop punches me, I go down. And Eddie shows up. Eddie's there. And Eddie's like, that's Vicky's kid. Oh my God. And the cop literally burst into tears. And he literally said to me, I don't know if I can say, you motherfucker, I almost killed you. I don't know why I didn't kill you. And I had gotten into trouble like a week or two before we went into the park just to look for fights. And Eddie turned around to me and he said, you know, Chris, you need to get out of here. You really do. And I was working at that time. I had dropped out of school, working in a gas station, and I went into work and I told my boss I was thinking of joining the Army, and he made the mistake. You can never tell an 18-year-old kid. He goes, yeah, I know. You always think you're so tough. If you really were tough, you'd join the Marine Corps, but you wouldn't make it. Done. I'm in the Marine Corps.
So you enlisted in the Marine Corps. How old are you?
18.
18. How is that? Shock to the system?
It was the best decision I ever made in my life, and it was the worst decision I ever made in my life. It was the best decision because I really didn't know what direction I was going to go. I was hoping to become an auto mechanic. I loved working on cars. But I went in there, and these people will give you all the responsibility in the world. Number one, I found out I wasn't nearly as tough as I envisioned I was. And, you know, they tell me, listen, you're going to be a combat engineer. I'm like, what are they doing? They're like, you set up booby traps and you build things and you blow up the enemy and you do this. I'm like, cool, well, that's great. And then they switched me to M60 machine gunner, and I ended up joining what was called, I was sent to, didn't join anything, the Rapid Deployment Force, which in 4 years, I was in a total of 17 different countries. I served and fought in Beirut, Lebanon, was sent to South America with Army Rangers on some other things. The reason why it was the worst decision in my life, which I didn't realize, and it cost me dearly, is I left my brother. And my brother was, he had already been left by his father. My siblings left. Everybody left. And then the one guy he trusted left. And my intention was, because I didn't know any better, was I thought I could join the Marine Corps, go into boot camp, and then after boot camp, bring them with me. I didn't realize all this stuff. That didn't work out. And then after I got out of the Marine Corps, he had moved to Florida with my mom. I went to Florida, tried to get on the police department there. Wasn't working out. This is in the mid 80s. And then the NYPD called me. And I asked him to come with me. He wouldn't come with me, but because things hadn't gotten better with my mom at that point. And so in the long run, it really damaged our relationship. So I'll always regret leaving him behind. But, I was hoping it would work out different.
How many brothers and sisters do you have?
I have 2 brothers and 1 sister.
And what did they end up doing?
That brother there joined the Marine Corps, Frank, my youngest brother. He joined the Marine Corps, then he became a police officer in Delray Beach, Florida. Didn't like that, became a teacher, didn't like that, and now he's an attorney. I don't know how much he likes that. My other brother followed in my father's footsteps, became a construction worker. Now he runs a company selling all sorts of stuff online, and he still does hardwood floors. And then my sister, she works in a school in upstate New York.
But all pretty successful?
Yeah, they all, on the outside, but we're all successful on the inside. I don't think the inside ever matches the outside when you have that kind of childhood, and you don't realize it until much later.
What do you think your mom did that contributed to the fact that you guys are all successful as opposed to turning out to be derelicts?
The biggest thing that my mother did that helped us was, well, first of all, my brother and sister, unfortunately, the one that's the construction worker and my sister, unfortunately, my father kidnapped them when he left. So it was only me and my younger brother. So my mother really didn't have any influence on my brother and sister. But what my mother did for us, the 2 things she always did, because we were dirt poor, people trying to take advantage of my mother. She was young, she was beautiful, she was scared, so she was drinking. She was trying to meet guys that she thought would be good guys, but they were all dirt bags, every last one of them. But so even though she was doing all of that, she would always used to tell me, God's going to take care of us. God's going to take care of us. God's going to take care of us. And she would work, and she would say, I'm going to get off of welfare. And she did. In 5 years, she got off of welfare. She opened up her own. So I was like, wow, so impressed with that. The other thing she used to do is she used to try and keep up the happiness, and she loved to dance to Elvis Presley. She was amazing. She's still alive. She's a great dancer. So we would dance to Elvis Presley when I would come home from work, covered in grease, scared about, are we going to get kicked out of this apartment because we don't have the money, scared because some guy's going to come in the house and want to fight with us, because that used to happen all the time. Guys coming in, grabbing my brother by the friggin' hair, and all sorts of stuff. So that part of her, that part of where, the dancing, the believing in God and everything else. And actually, it was on one of those days when I was walking down the street. I still remember exactly where I was when I turned around to God and I said, listen, my Father on the earth that you gave me didn't want me. I hope you do. And it took years and years and years for me to come around to that. But I asked him to be my Father on earth, and he did.
Wow. How long did you do in the Marines?
4 years.
4 years. So when you get out, how old are you?
21, 22.
21, 22, and then you joined the NYPD.
Yeah, joined the NYPD, went through the academy, went to what was called NSU 9, Neighborhood Stabilization Unit 9. And what that was, I'm thinking, based on my experience there, they would send you to 4 different precincts. I think some were A houses, which means really busy, and then slower houses. So, NYPD gave me a badge and a gun and told me to go lock up criminals. I'm like, this is freaking beautiful, right? But what I didn't know is, even though I grew up in the Bronx, when you're wearing that blue uniform, the Bronx is a different place. You can, when you're a civilian, you kind of meld in, and but now you're wearing a uniform, and you don't know anything more than anybody else first coming out of the academy. A fight breaks out, a car accident, family dispute, you respond, and people are looking at you like, what do you do? And I'm like, shit, I don't know. I'm just 22 years old. I don't know. You've been having this problem for 45 years. You want me to figure it out in 5 minutes? So I wanted to get the bad guys. So they put us in what was, the NSU people put us in this thing called BAND, Bronx Anti-Narcotics Division. Sounds impressive. Really all it was let's flood the streets with a bunch of rookies that straight out of the academy, and the theory was the drug dealers would run away. BS. The drug dealers ain't running away. They just hide a little bit. But growing up in the Bronx, growing up where I grew up, bouncing around and seeing different parts of the Bronx. Primarily, I grew up on Arthur Avenue, but really bounced around a lot. I call Arthur Avenue our home base. Every time we would try to venture out, something wouldn't work, we'd go back to Grandma's on Arthur Avenue. We lived there or anything. So I'm seeing these hand-to-hand drug deals. I'm seeing guys with knives doing robberies. Everybody thinks a robbery is like, give me your money. No. Guy walks up to you, yo, Holmes, puts a knife to you, yo, Holmes, and they go. So I see this. So I'm locking people up left and right. And I got this sergeant who, unbeknownst to me, he's one of the guys taking the test. That's his deal. And he's looking to be lieutenant, commissioner, whatever the heck he wants to be. So he comes into me and he's telling me, Delia, you're gonna get yourself hurt, you're gonna get yourself jammed up, and thereby you're gonna get me jammed up. Slow down on the arrests. What are you talking about? I'm making felony collars here. What are you freaking talking about, Sarge? So, and plus I'm a former Marine. You got to understand something. Like I was hurt in Beirut. I was wounded in Beirut. I was a Marine's Marine. I wasn't gonna play this nonsense, right? So I'm making collars left and right. So long story short, one day the sergeant pulls me in a room and he says to me, Delia, how is it that you see all these arrests, all these felony arrests, and not any other rookies see them? How is that possible? I said, you should be asking them that question. I don't know how they're not seeing it either, to be quite honest with you, because it's nuts. Well, anyway, he says, I'm going to get even with you. I said, well, what's that mean? He goes, you're going to see. So when you get to ask what precinct you want to go to. I wanted to go in the worst way to the 4-4 or the 4-6. Busy houses. I figured I'd learned a job. He sends me to the 5-0. Oh my gosh, it's death warrant. 5-0's in Riverdale. It's a very nice place. You have nothing going on there. That's where cops go, in my personal opinion, at that time, to die. Right? So, I mean, I knew guys, they were going out on patrol at that time. They were not even wearing bulletproof vests. They're not doing this. If you made an arrest and you're down Central booking, people would laugh at you like, oh my gosh, 5-0, you made an arrest. What was... So, I'm there, I'm dying. I'm like, this sucks. But there was crimes there, you never know what you're going to come across when you're a cop. So, like, I get a call, and you got to go with your gun instinct. I was working with a guy at this time. He wasn't really he wanted to be in the 5-0. He's that type of guy. We get a call, child difficulty breathing. I am very much, kids are my thing, right? So I tell him, Jeff, let's get there. We're going. He's like, slow down, slow down. I'm not slowing down. Slow down. We're arguing the whole time. Slow down. Let EMS take care of it. I said, Jeff, I got a feeling. I get there. There's a woman sitting on the steps, and she's crying. And she's bent over crying, oh, my baby, my baby. So I'm like thinking, you fool, like, why ain't you with your baby? So I go running past her. I'm like, what's wrong? Oh my God, he hurt her. So I go running upstairs. Father shot the kid in the head. Kid's laying across the desk with half a fucking brain blown out. I'm like, oh my God, where's the dad? So I pull out my gun. I come running down. She says to me, you just missed him when you pulled up. So I look at my partner, I'm like, I'm gonna kill you. Like, I wanted to get here. Well, now I'm talking to this woman. She's shot. She's shot. That's why she was holding on. So you never know what you're gonna run into. So anyway, I get from there, and I can't take it no more. Right? And I'm like, I gotta get out of here. I switched partners, a really good partner. Guy by the name of Mike Green, amazing guy. But I can't take it no more, and I don't know what I'm going to do. And the captain, this guy, Captain Scanlon, and a sergeant, they said to me, hey, you'd be better off in Bronx Task Force. I go to Bronx Task Force. I'm like, this is worse. Because they're telling me, Bronx Task Force, you're going to do things for the command, the borough. So I'm thinking, oh, we're going to, be doing riots. We're going to be doing this. So I'm in Bronx Task Force.
Yep.
And one story that sticks out there is I'm on a midnight, and it's the winter, and there's nobody on the street. I don't know what that is. I see this guy walking towards me and my partner, and I'm like, yo, look at this here. Look at this guy. He kind of wants to approach us, but doesn't want to approach us. And he's got his hand in here. So I'm like, I'm going to cap this friggin' dude. So when you're on patrol, what you do is you never close your windows because you want to hear what's going on outside. So I don't care how cold it is or how hot it is, you keep those windows down just a little bit. So this guy's coming near me, so I start to step out of the car. I'm like, yo, my friend, don't come any closer. So he's like, I was hoping you could help me. I'm like, help you what? What's the problem? He's like, I got into an argument with my father-in-law and he shot me. I says, he shot you? He goes, yeah. I says, where'd he shoot you? Takes his hand out, half his freaking hand hanging out. I'm like, oh my God. But anyway, we rush him to the hospital. We find out that we find out that he smacked his wife. The father-in-law got mad and shot him. But I have to tell you one real quick story going back to the 5-0 that people don't realize. We get a call one time of a guy having a heart attack. We get there, this guy's sweating. He's not going to make it. No ambulance is available because they used to have to fill up with all these junkies and everything else. So me and my partner decide to transport. You're not supposed to try to transport, but this guy ain't going to make it if we don't. We pick him up. Wife's crying, kids crying. Oh, we're going down the stairs. This guy's sweating. He's having a heart attack. We all fall down the stairs. This guy rolls down. The family's watching us. Just, oh my gosh, So we get it. My partner's in the back seat trying to do CPR. You can't do CPR on something soft, but he's doing his best. I hear the guy die. I hear him go, "Ah." I knew he's gone. Get him to the hospital. Next day, Sergeant calls us come into the precinct. So I'm like, oh, we're in trouble. This woman came in. This is the 5-0. They don't play this kind of nonsense that you're going to say killed my husband, right? The woman made us a cake with a card saying, I never seen two cops try so hard to save my husband. It just touches you, you know. Sometimes you get that. So anyway, back to the task force. I'm there 3 months. I'm like, I can't do this because I made the fatal mistake unbeknownst to me. So cops in busy houses, sometimes they don't get to eat. So I'm listening, I forget what precinct we were in, 4, 6, wherever the heck we were. And I'm listening to this one sector trying to take a meal. And they're like, no, you know, I got a priority. I got shots fired. I got this. I got that. Oh, this is nuts. So I pick up the radio. I'm like, task force, whatever. Yeah, task force. I'm like, let that sector go to meal. I'll cover his thing. Guy comes over. Thank you. My partner turns around and goes, you're a dead man here. I'm like, what's that mean? He goes, you don't do that. We don't pick up the radio. We don't do that. You know, we got to be ready in case there's a riot. We got to be ready for this. We got to be ready for that. Once you pick up the radio, they're going to know you're in the sector. They're going to start in the precinct. They're going to start giving you a job. We don't do that. I don't know who's right. I don't know who's wrong. I know me. Cop's hungry. Cop needs some help. I'm going to back him up. I'm going to answer the radio. Well, a friend of mine by the name of Mike Jermaine, he had put in for narcotics, and he's like, Chris, you should put in for narcotics. Mike later on, he was an undercover. Mike was Chris Holben's partner. Chris Holben and Eddie and Michael Busick were both killed on the same day. Mike was on patrol. Chris and Eddie, Chris Holben and Mike were doing a undercover buy, and Mike gets Chris Holben gets killed. But anyway, that's down the road. Mike says, put in for narcotics. I put in for narcotics. Guy calls me in for an interview, asks me what nationality I am. Before I could respond, he says, you know what? Don't matter. I can't figure it out. They're not going to figure it out. So I passed for light-skinned black. I passed for Egyptian. I passed for Hispanic. I passed for Italian. I passed for anything. I always used to tell people, my scam was, listen, just got kicked out of the Marine Corps. Freaking dirtbags threw me out. I can't make a living. My mother's white. My father's whatever gang I was trying to get into. And I like to joke around. I like to have fun. You know, my family to this day, they call me like a street comedian, you know. So I would go out there and I would just make friends with these people. I was making more and more buys, doing more and more things. They send you there for 90 days. They up me for another 90 days. And, you know, there was this thing where the undercover would make the buy and the backup guys, the investigators, they'd make the arrests. And so the investigators started to like me because they would come up to me and they would say, Chris, I want to get on, meaning I want to make an arrest. And, you know, the undercovers, rightfully so, a lot of them would say, listen, I'm only going to make so many buys in a day because every one of them you're risking your life. And, but I didn't care because I thought I was invincible. I didn't think anybody could kill me. I've been in through the Marine Corps. I've been in a machine gun bunker that was blown up. I survived growing up. I've survived the abusive father. I've survived the abusive guy. Nobody's going to kill me. It's just not going to happen. So I would say, oh, no problem. I'll go out. I'll make a buy for you. Or if somebody didn't want to do the buy, they would, you know, say, oh, go to Delia. Delia will do the buy. It doesn't matter where it is, who it is, doesn't matter. So I got a reputation. Next thing I know, I got an invitation to join Narcotics Major Case Squad. We started doing some serious cases. I worked on one of the biggest cases in New York City. And a lot of people say that because it's true for all of us, right? You got, people don't realize, the city of New York doesn't realize the debt of gratitude they owe these guys. You know, we talk about my friend Louis Baldessari. He worked a big case. I know a lot of other guys who worked big cases. So I worked this case called Big Shot. We took down a lot of Mafia guys. I started off buying small amounts of drugs off of some Hispanic gangs, worked my way up to 116th Street and First Avenue, did a lot of stuff there. Things were going great. Things were going great. I didn't know where it was going to take me, but I was on top of the world. My wife used to laugh. My neighbors thought I was some sort of criminal. Nobody knew what I did. They're like, this one day this guy's driving a taxi cab for work. One day he's driving a Corvette convertible. One day he's doing this. I'd make my wife not supposed to do it, but I used to tell her, I'll drive you to and from work. I throw in the back of the cab, yellow cab, you know, all sorts of stuff going on. I let her out one day. The guy jumps in. I'm like, no, I'm closing. Guy's like, F you, mother, you're going to take me. I'm like, no, seriously, you got to get out of the cab. Get out of the cab. I'm not going to get out of the cab. So he gets out of the cab and he kicks the cab and he puts a dent in the door. I'm like, oh, really? Okay, get out. Boom, now you're under arrest mode. Oh, no, I can't be under arrest. I can't be under arrest. Oh, I'm too late for that, you little bitch. Lock him up, you're done. Right? So this was going on. And then we had our first tragedy, which was a guy by the name of Richie Burt, shot 3 times. I don't know the details of it. I just know he was with our unit. I know he went inside. They don't want you going inside the buildings. For whatever reason, Richie did. It's not uncommon. People don't realize that. Like, I got robbed one time doing a buy. This tiny little girl, she's like, no, it's hot out here. The cops are out here. You know, I don't want to do it on the street. Come inside. I go inside. Guy puts a knife to my throat. There's this guy 10 times my size, knife to my throat. Give me your money. Thank God he didn't search and find my gun or anything else, you know. So Richie gets shot. That was our first reality of like, oh, this stuff's serious. So then, you know, also it was just a blast, right? It was it was insane. I mean, I couldn't believe when I tell people, nobody believed me, right? I never touched a drug in my life. My mother told me growing up, Chris, I can handle you drinking. I can handle you fine. I cannot get you off drugs if you please. So I never did a drug in my life. Here am I, I'm buying 8 balls of cocaine, I don't know nothing. These guys are teaching me how to make crack in the street. They're like, oh, you know, if you make crack, how do I do that? I just got thrown out of Marine Corps. I don't know nothing. Help me out here. Come on inside. We'll show you how to make it. Okay, going, I'm doing this, now I'm feeling bad. I'm like, oh, you guys trying to help me out, but I got to lock you up, right? So now I'm getting a little cocky with myself. So I go to do a buy one time, and I got my badge on me. And the guy says to me, how do I know you're not a cop? And I says, as a matter of fact, I am a cop. The guy stops, what? Took out my badge. He's looking at me, wins the apartment, and I says to him, listen, dude, I work up in the Bronx, up in the 5-0. I like to get high too, but I can't get drugs up there. Everybody knows me down here. So the guy's like, you're so cool, that's so great. Boom, he gets collared. He's like, the fucking guy told me he was a cop. He showed me his badge and I still sold him the drugs. What the heck? You know, another time I walk into a place and I see a guy that I had gotten locked up. And as soon as I walked in the door, I see him and I'm like, yo, man, last time I met you, I freaking had cops chasing me. You're a freaking rat. Now the guys in the apartment are looking at him. He's like, no, I got it. Now they're looking at him. I'm like, dude, I'll fuck you up, man. I can't believe you did that. So now the drug dealer turns around and goes, listen, man, we all know 5-0's all over the place. Neither one of you are rats. I've seen you both around all the time. Chill. I'm like, I'm watching you. Now I'm watching you. I'm just, all right, I'm just telling you, bang, they all got collared. So the last funny story like that is now doing the prisoner wagon. And what we would do is we'd come by, we'd grab the arrest people, and we'd go far off the set, which is where the undercovers were. I'm sitting there. Now, come on. I'm sitting there. The guy driving the van's this big Irish guy. I'm a short-looking, Puerto Rican-looking guy. And I have my rain jacket on to go get the guy. But it's hot, so I have it back. So I see this guy coming up the street. He's back. I'm like, yo, what's going on? We're in a prisoner wagon, right? He's not paying attention. And he's like, 5-0 back there. I'm like, what you got? He's like, I got red caps, but I don't have time. Bang! I put the prisoners in the back of laughing, you dumbass. So, fast forward, another tragedy. Guy by the name of Louis Lopez, amazing detective. American story, you know, immigrant from Honduras, tough as nails, funny, taught me, him and a few others taught me to play dominoes. Great guy. Louis making a buy on Houston Street. He's looking for help. He's asking me, he's like, hey, would you come do a buy? From what I understand, he was asking a few other people. I was told I couldn't go because I had too much overtime. So, but at that time, I didn't know. That was like the last minute. So I called my wife and I'm like, hey, listen, we're gonna go out tonight. Meet me at this bar called Barrels. It's where all the cops hung out. I said, I'm just gonna go do a buy with Louis. This guy's selling, I think it was a big bag of weed and some guns. And that's why I came to major case, because of the guns. So she's like, okay. So I said to Louis, I'm just gonna hang out back here. When you come back in, I'll voucher the stuff with you. Maybe we'll all go out. And he's like, all right. And he didn't want to go by himself, but he did. He goes in. Once again, I wasn't there, but he gets shot. From what I understand, as soon as he walked through the door, he got shot. Our guys tried to save him. One guy, this guy we used to call his name Rosie Divine, giant of a man. He went in there. I think it was our lieutenant at the time, Lieutenant Ferrari, who returned fire and hit the subject and got him down. It was a chaotic scene. But my wife hears over the news, Undercover shot. She's freaking out. So, you know, this is before the days of cell phones or anything. We all end up at the hospital. I called the bar. I'm like, Louis shot. How bad is it? We don't know. He's going to pull through. Well, we didn't know he was already dead. They were trying to tell us. Biggest memory of that was this NYPD chaplain walking in. If I could, I would have choked him to death. He walks in, because we don't know Louis dead, and he's like, all right. Now, we're all sitting there, like, you know, talking. Louis could do it. Louis could pull through this. All right, we lost a cop tonight. We're like, what? What did you just say? We lost a cop tonight. I wanted to punch this guy right in the throat. That's how you tell people that the guy that's, you're like family. You got to understand us narcotics units, we're like family. I'm still friends with these guys to this day. So, unbeknownst to me, my wife calls the NYPD. Actually, she was friends with one of my sergeants who used to go into the bar. And she's like, I can't do this. I can't. I'm like, I'm worried my husband's gonna get killed. So they don't say nothing to me. Next thing I know, I'm getting transferred to the trademark counterfeiting unit. I went from buying cocaine, major cases, to buying freaking Mickey Mouse. I'm like, what the freak did I ever do to anybody to deserve this thing? So I'm like, this sucks. People are, you know, but okay. We start making major cases there. We're kicking ass. We're doing all sorts of things. All of a sudden, I get a phone call from an old sergeant. Hey, Delia, I'm up here in the FBI. Would you come to OSID? And I'll explain what that is in a minute. Would you be willing to come to OSID and come to the FBI? We're looking for somebody with undercover experience and investigative experience. I'm like, hell yeah. So OSID is Organized Crime Investigative Division. It's where they went after these are the guys who went after John Gotti. These are the guys. So my lips to God's ears, I walk into this intelligence room and I'm like, holy shit. I'm looking at the board and I'm like, I know some of these guys. They're friends of the family. So I said, I can't do Italians. They're like, yeah. Well, all you guys say that, all you guys say. I was like, no, seriously, like I can't. At the time, I still lived on Arthur Avenue. Can't do Italians, right? So you're doing Italians till we figure out where we're sending you. First search warrant I do is on I'm not my case, just helping out. It's a sanitation company. We go, they tell me, go into the office, make sure that security office, okay? Bang, police, police, I go running out. Bang, I run into the office. Somebody screams out, Chris, what the hell are you doing here? Sergeant's like, you know what? I said, I told you I can't work Italians. So no more Italians for Chris. But now the word gets out on the neighborhood where I live, and all of a sudden, like this store, Red's, that I've been going into since I was a little kid, I can't go in there no more. My uncle's coming up to me, hey, did you hear that they hit the carpet store for numbers? People are thinking in the neighborhood you did it. You gotta move. You gotta move. So I moved to Westchester County. Everything's going good. Next thing I know, I get to the FBI task force. Great group of guys. These guys, Neil Donovan, we used to call him Surfer Dude. Tom McNally, more Catholic than the Pope. I mean, like, these guys were good. Jamie Campbell, like all these guys, they're the best of the best. Kevin Aquinas, Vinny Flynn, like all these guys. Vinny played hockey on the NYPD hockey team. He'd get more beat up there than on the streets. But these guys were the best, all of them. And I didn't know where I fit in, because we get there, everybody's doing a case. And some of the agents really didn't like NYPD. Their thing was, you are the locals, and I learned who they were real quick. Got into a few physical altercations with some of them who had big mouths. And I didn't know that you wasn't supposed to do that. Like, that's fine in the NYPD. Like, if you go into the locker room and punch the shit out of somebody, nobody's going to say nothing. So they say to me, listen, we got the head of the FBI there, C11, was a guy by the name of Leo Farrell, former Vietnam Marine. He took a liking to me, brought me into the FBI Marine Corps Association, introduced me to all the top brass, introduced me to all, so things were going good. And I'm like, I know what I want to do. I want to go to the terrorist task force. This is in the 90s, before anything happened. I want to go to the terrorist task force, and Leo and this Lieutenant Fisher, they say, hey, we're starting this Nigerian task force, West Organized Crime Task Force. Why don't you be the detective? We're going to hook you up with this guy, Mark Morrow, and you guys start this and get it going. Mark's this giant freaking half American Indian. I'm this tiny little guy. My wife would invite Mark over for dinner. The guy literally would stop and eat at McDonald's before he came over, so he didn't embarrass himself. But sweetheart of a guy. And I used to feel so bad for him, because he started working in New York, but all he wanted to do was go back home to Wisconsin. So he's always put in for transfers. I think he eventually went to Chicago. Anyway, we're doing West African organized crime. I'm in shock of how intelligent these people are. Scary, wicked smart. They're telling me, oh yeah, we start the Celestial Church of Christ because we know you guys can't go into churches. We don't shoot you. We poison you with the liver of some fish on your sandwich, because everybody knows that if you shoot a guy, cops are gonna come. But if a guy gets poisoned, if some black guy in the ghetto drops dead, nobody's coming if he just drops dead. I'm like, oh, you scary son of a gun. And the guy's telling me about how you could tell if somebody's Nigerian by their tribal scars. Anyway, we start working this case where this guy is a pilot. He's flying drugs in. He's taking the life vests out under the seat, the pilot, and putting drugs in there, right? So people are gonna die happy. But we got to get information from the CIA, so I get my clearance up to what's called SCI clearance. It's one step higher than top secret security. FBI guys didn't like that. So, and we're working these cases, and one day I'm at work, and I used to smoke at that time, and I get a pain in the middle of my back and in both my elbows. I'm like, man, what's going on? So I get up to walk around, and Lieutenant Fisher says to me, hey, you got the same look on your face my father did when he died of a heart attack. I want you to go to the hospital. Hospital? I ain't going to the hospital. We're going to be doing search warrants. I am not missing out on the overtime. No chance. So he goes to me, hey, Chris, he says, I'll tell you what you do. Go to the hospital. If nothing's wrong, you come back. I'll keep you on the clock. You get the overtime. Okay, go to the hospital. Get to the hospital. Doctor checks me out. Literally tells me, I don't know how you're alive. You got 90% blockage. We got to do emergency surgery. Now, my wife's 8 months pregnant. When she had asked me, how would I ever know if you're hurt? Now, here we are again. Same scenario. My husband's going out to do search runs. And I'll tell you in a second, but she said, how would I know if you ever really hurt? And I said, well, because they'll send a car for you. So they're going to do surgery on me. I said, don't send a car. She's 8 months pregnant. I'm begging you, don't send the car. So what these idiots do, I don't find out till later, cops being cops. One of them, whomever, I don't know, calls her at work. Christine, yeah, what's going on? Why are you calling me? Calm down. Chris didn't get hurt during a search warrant, but he is having emergency surgery for a heart attack. You got to get to the hospital. She's like, what? So he's not shot, but he might die of a heart attack. So she goes to the hospital. The unit couldn't be better to my wife, especially this guy, Jamie Campbell, who's still on the job. Just amazing people, took care of my wife, took care of everything else. But I didn't learn until after, about 2 years after actually, where my wife said to me, you know, I'm so grateful you're not a cop no more. She's like, I always used to have to watch what time you were leaving in the morning and what bulletproof vest you were grabbing. Were you grabbing the light one or were you grabbing a heavier one? If you were leaving at 2 in the morning, I knew you were probably going to be doing some sort of undercover work. If you were leaving later, I knew you were doing a search warrant. And I never knew if you were coming home. And so we start talking, and I said to her, we got to talking about it. She's like, I got to ask you, why did you marry me? So I said, well, you want the truth or you want the one that's going to make you feel good? I said, both are kind of true. I said, I walked into the bar, you're drop dead gorgeous. She's the bartender. I said, wait, she's beautiful, she's the bartender, and she's got an attitude. She's mine, right? But the reality of it is that I never, from my lips to God's ears, expected, and a lot of people used to tell me, that I was going to survive being a cop. Too many, in the 80s, the 90s, it was like freaking third world country combat day in and day out when you were in narcotics units, robbery units. We've seen the stuff. So I said, I wanted kids. I wanted to be the kind of father to my kids that I didn't have. I didn't really succeed too much at that, but I tried. But I knew that if I got killed, I couldn't have a weak woman in my life. I couldn't have a woman who was gonna, break down and not be able to do it. I needed a strong woman. And my wife is as strong as they freaking come. Mentally, she is rock solid. She's a nurse. She's usually the head nurse somewhere. She comes from a rock solid family, of family support. And I watched her before I was even dating her, like I was trying to get a drink. She wasn't paying attention, as she usually isn't. She's down at the other end of the bar talking as she usually is. So I went, yo. She goes, you'll die of thirst if you ever snap your fingers at me again. I don't care who you are. I'm like, holy shit, this is my kind of woman. When I first came in the bar, she tried to have me thrown out because I'm wearing an earring. I have a smiley shirt with a gunshot wound to the head, combat pants with steel-tipped boots. She thinks I'm a drug dealer, which is what I wanted people to think. And she's trying to have me thrown out. She's talking to the guy at the bar. Hey, look what's coming in the door. He comes up to me. He's like, hey, listen, Jose, any problems? I'm like, this is the bar. My friends tell me to come hang out. We're friends with these people to this day. Another great guy, another former cop, did a lot to help officers. He got a little trouble, but he always helping people. A guy by the name of Pete Marsala, salt of the earth guy. So that's basically my entire story. I didn't know what I was going to do. I have a heart attack. I can't be a cop. What am I going to do? I'm going to do what every other cop does. I'm going to go to South Florida and open up a private detective agency. I did that for 9 years. I had a private detective agency, which I bought out one of my competitors who did executive protection. I was guarding all the stars. I was guarding Rosie O'Donnell, Tommy Mottola, all these guys, doing great. Had some issues there, and as God always does, He looks out for you. Just as I was having issues, one of my customers was the Anti-Defamation League, and I used to guard their CEO, a guy by the name of Abe Foxman, another salt of the earth guy. Can't say enough good about him. And Abe says to me, "You want to come on board as our national director of security?" So I go home to my wife. I said, "What am I going to do? I'm the most conservative Catholic you'll ever find in my life. This is the most liberal Jewish organization you ever find in your life. What do I do?" I says, "I don't particularly care for the organization as a whole, but I love Abe." So my wife reminds me, she says, "Listen, your whole life, from the Marine Corps, from when you were a kid, from when you were a cop, all you ever did was protect people's rights, and whether you agreed with their rights or not. You always did that. There's no conflict of interest for you for that." So I say, I don't believe you. I don't believe you. I got to go talk to my mother. "Ma, what do I do?" "Follow your heart. Follow your heart." So, all right, well, I don't know. So I'm going to go talk to the priest. Priest tells me, "You'll figure it out." So I said, "I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to make them an offer that they're not going to take. I make them an offer, these freaking people take it." So there I am. And here I am here, 22 years later, the longest serving National Director of Security for the Anti-Defamation League in their history. Recently, within the last few years, they brought in some FBI guys to be the outward-facing guys. I am the guy they hide behind the scenes. I deal with all the day-to-day operations now. I used to be the outward-facing guys until that didn't work out, because I tend to tell people like it is, and higher-ranking people don't like that within law enforcement. So, I would tell people, you and your guys don't know what the hell you're talking about. And so they decided, you know what? You know how to run a security at an event. You know how to run an executive protection team. You know how to do threat assessments, risk assessments, travel assessment. You know how to do all of this, and you know how to run the guys that do it. But we can't put you in front of the chiefs. We can't put you in front of people because you're not polished. They sent me to Israel on a law enforcement mission with a bunch of chiefs. I became friends with a guy by the name of Mark Doyle on the New Jersey State Police. He and I were the same type of guys, but the other guys were like, they'd be telling me that stuff, and I'd be like, "That's total bullshit. That's not the way you should do it." And they're like, what rank were you when you retired?" "I was a detective, third grade." And here I am talking to some super chief. And he's like, "And you're telling me?" "Yeah, I'm telling you, because, that's not going to work." Anyway, it's been a great life. I have 4 beautiful kids, all of them extremely successful. One's a mechanical engineer. One's a captain in the Marine Corps. My other daughter worked for Lockheed Martin, but now she's trying to start her own business. And my other daughter's trying to become a forensic accountant. As a matter of fact, if you know anybody who did money laundering, she needs to interview them for a class project. But my wife is my wife, my life, salt of my earth. We've been married 33 years. I've had 6 heart attacks since that first heart attack. And she's nursed me to health through all of them. She's like, "You're not getting off that easy." So she's like she tells me every morning, "I'm the only thing keeping you alive." And it's the truth. It's the truth in all ways. So scary but true. And I just have to say the two things that I learned. You know, one is being Italian. Italians think they're tough until they marry a Polish woman. And two, I thought Italian mothers had the corner on guilt and everything else. Jews and Italians, we're from the same seed. We just split at birth. Literally, the same people. I'm listening to these Jewish women talking to their kids. No, don't worry about me. Don't worry about me. You just take care of you. I'm like, oh my gosh. Are you sure you're not Italian? My mother, when I took this job, I'm never forgiving Abe Foxman for taking you away from me. I'm like, oh my gosh, Mom, you live in Florida, you know? But anyway, that's my whole story.
All right, I got some questions for you, Chris. That was awesome. I appreciate you doing that. Okay, so first of all, when you get to NSU 9 right out of the academy, now typically, you correct me if I'm wrong, but I understand when you come out of the academy, typically you're on a foot patrol, then you go to vehicles or whatever else. How do you end up in you said NSU 9 was essentially a training unit.
Correct.
How do you end up in that unit out of the academy?
So the first thing they do is they look where you live. At that time, I lived in Arthur Avenue. So I think they try to put you closest to your home. Really, that's what I think it is. I don't really know if there's more to it. You know, once again, like I was a rookie, I didn't ask questions. Go to NSU 9. I'm all right. See you there.
Okay. Okay. Now, Undercover. Did you like doing Undercover?
I loved it.
Okay. Why did you like it?
I loved it because these dirt bags, you know, like I tell people, right? Drug dealer's not your friend. Right? Drug dealers the lowest form of earth, scum on earth. What are they doing? They're starting people off by giving them drugs to hook them up so that they can make money. So they're destroying America. They're destroying the very neighborhoods that they claim to care about, that they live in. They're causing these kids, they're destroying families, they're destroying everybody, and they come to you like Satan himself, like your friend. Hey, buddy, yeah, don't worry, you don't got money, I'll hook you up until next week when you can't pay him back, or until you want to make some money, sell for me, until maybe a vial goes missing or something goes missing, then you got problems. I can't stand drug dealers. I can't stand criminals in general. The people who tend to be criminals, contrary to popular belief, usually are pretty intelligent, strong, and everything else. They could do so much good, but instead they do bad. And so, you know, they all think they're so smart, but, you know, I infiltrated all of these groups, and I was proud to do it. You know, I remember some of the Italian cases that I did work. I was in the Daily News. I was all over the place. I should have brought some stuff, but you know, some of the Italian guys used to say, how could you do this, you know, paisan? And I'm like, you're not my paisan. You're not my fucking paisan, dude. You're out there, you're taking advantage of everybody else. You know, what people don't understand is that criminals usually take advantage of their own kind, right? No black guys were coming onto Arthur Avenue committing crimes. They wouldn't make it. No white people or Italian people were going into freaking Harlem or these other places. It's your own kind doing it to you, and the people in the neighborhood, sometimes they don't get it. So I can't stand the drug dealers. That was one thing. The other thing is, once I got into the narcotics unit, I never saw, they say it's the best time of your life, and it is. The people I worked with, they were the tightest people in the world. We became family. Our families became family. I'm still friends with them to this day. So for once in my life, since the Marine Corps, because in the Marine Corps I was in the small teams as well, you know, the sergeant, he's the sergeant, the lieutenant, they're the bosses, but guess what? They're right out on the street with you, making an arrest. You know, they're the one calling you up when you get hurt, and, you know, are you all right? I mean, I had a serious issue where they wanted me to infiltrate a John Gotti rally. So I'm down there, and they want to see what the people are doing. So, female cop comes up. She don't tell what she's doing. She's telling everybody, get out, back up, back up. One of these guys, I knew it was going to happen. He pops her, bang. He hits her. She goes down. I jump on top of her. I lean into her. I'm telling her, stay down. I'm a cop. Stay down. She's, ah! Next thing I know, cops show up. Bang, bang, bang. They beat me up. They see the officer on the ground. So I call my wife from the hospital. I got a couple of broken fingers. Call my wife. I'm in the hospital. She hears the nurses laughing in the background. She thinks I'm at Barrows. She thinks I'm at the bar. Because I'm telling these girls, the fucking cops beat me up more than the bad guys ever do. I do my job too good. I gotta ease it down. This is ridiculous. Now I gotta call my wife and tell her I'm hurt again, because I'd come home with a bloody lip. Christine, I'm hurt. You ain't hurt. I hear the girls laughing in the background. I'm hurt, babe. That cop's got me again, some bitches. So she finally goes, so now I go home, but now Internal Affairs wants me to name the cops that hit me. I ain't naming the cops that hit me, right? They did the right thing. So they put me into lockdown, basically saying you can't leave your house unless you have to go to the doctor, unless you got to do this, unless you got to... I called my lieutenant. I'm like, hey, look, this is nuts, right? I don't know who hit me. I wasn't... And he took care of it. But that's what I'm saying. It's like family. There was nothing... To this day, literally, I just joking with you about the money laundering guy. I reach out to my friends. My daughter needs this project. I'm 63 years old. I haven't been doing this in a long time. I got guys reaching out. I got you. Don't worry about it. We'll get her. What does she got to do? What's her class doing? What's she doing? So that's why I loved it. I absolutely love those guys. I love them to this day. The guy, and when I say guys, I mean guys and girls. You know, we're working in wiretap rooms together. We're on surveillances together. We do everything. We're breaking each other's chops day in and day out. You cannot be in a narcotics unit and have soft skin. You screw something up, we're gonna let you know about it. Do not let anybody know about your fears. If you tell them you got a fear, they're gonna exploit it to the end. So, but they're the craziest, kindest, toughest people in the world. A lot of them were also former military. So you never find a greater group of people in your life.
So I basically turned you on. You went on for 45 minutes talking nonstop. What is it about New York guys that allows you to do that? Is it growing up in the neighborhood, learning how to talk to each other? What is it that you guys can do that everybody else that I talk to can't do?
I think that it's because of you, to be honest, because very few people give us the opportunity to talk. You kind of have it all inside of you. People usually want the war stories. People want to hear, you know, who'd you shoot, who'd you see die, who'd you see it. And cops don't want to talk about that stuff. You know, I try to forget about that little girl that I'll never forget about. I try to forget about the woman who jumped out the window, walking into her apartment, tea kettle still sitting there. What happened? What made you open your window and jump? So people want to hear all that, and then you get somebody like you, Niles, who comes along and says, you know, what made you do it? And I guess you're one of the first people that ever asked. But I think coming from New York, you definitely feel comfortable. You know, New Yorkers get a reputation as being unfriendly, but really we're not unfriendly. We're not from the South where it's bless your heart, meaning F you. We'll just say F you. I don't like it. You know, we're that way. And when you walk into a narcotics room, when nothing's going on, you see there's 50 million conversations going on. All it's like being home on a Italian Sunday dinner. Everybody's talking, everybody's yelling at everybody. Who wants lunch? I don't want freaking Chinese food. I want that. Then go get it. So I guess that's just what you get used to.
So one thing I think that people don't understand is the crap that cops see. Horrible stuff, good stuff, but but a lot of stuff that normal people don't get to see. And you talked about the young girl. You talked about the lady jumping out of the window. How did you deal with that? What was your coping mechanism for the bad stuff that you saw?
Be honest with you, you start drinking. You don't realize that you're not dealing with it. My wife has pictures at home of we got a job in that a drug dealer had kidnapped another drug dealer's kids, or a kid, and was going to kill him. So for 3 days straight, we were doing search warrants. We were finding other kidnapped victims, not this kid. We never found the kid. After 72 hours, we had gone into this one place to try and find this kid. He wasn't there. And I turned around and I said, I need to sit down for a minute. And I wouldn't go home. I wanted to find this baby before they friggin' killed him. And I sat down and I slumped over onto these weight bench like this. And the cops being cops, they don't say, oh, poor Chris. They put crime scene tape around me, these bastards. Like I was a DOA, took pictures and sent them to my wife saying, this is what your husband does at work. So, you know, but you come home and you laugh about that picture. You don't talk about the kids you didn't find. So I don't think you ever really deal with it. I'm still dealing with a lot of the horror I've seen. You still deal. I think the biggest thing that bothers me, I don't get it anymore because I'm too far retired, but I used to hear people, you know, when somebody walks in the room, they don't say, hey, this is Niles, he's a plumber. Hey, this is Joe, he's a car mechanic. When you walk through the door, it's like a warning. This is Chris, he's a cop. Why you gotta friggin' say that, right? Nobody needs to know what. And then you get it. Oh, I got a speeding ticket, I wasn't doing nothing. Oh, I know a cop that does drugs. Oh, I know this. I know. So the way I used to deal with that is I used to say, oh, you know a cop that does drugs? Yeah, okay. What's his name? Because he won't be a cop tomorrow. So basically you're full of shit. What you're telling me is, I wasn't doing nothing. I says, let me explain something to you, all right? Cop on patrol, he doesn't want to talk to you. He don't want nobody to come near him. If he's messing with you, you drew his attention to you for some reason. You did something, all right? You know you did something. Man up, say what you did, and that's it. You weren't speeding? Take it to court. I don't know what to freaking tell you. So, but I don't think you deal with, there's stories I could, like any other cop, I could go on and on and on about the death, about, you know, things that people don't realize, like going into a hallway to do a drug buy, and the streets are so freaking dangerous, the kids can't play on the streets, and there's this kid playing with a Spalding, ba-bang, ba-bang, ba-bang. I walk in, I'm gonna do a drug buy, so I turn around, I can get the fuck out of here, man, get out of my way, I'll bust you up. Mother opens the door, the father opens the door, man, take the fucking kid inside, man, because I don't want that kid to get shot if something goes wrong, right? And now I'm doing the buy, and all I'm thinking about is this kid. What chance does he have, right? Because if the parents aren't going to try and get out of it, or don't know how to get out of it, it's less of a chance this kid knows how to get out. My mother said, I'm going to get off of welfare, and she did, right? I'm not putting anybody down. Everybody's got a different situation, but you know, I still remember that kid as much as I remember that woman jumping out the window. As much as I remember the little girl with the gunshot wound to the head. Much as I remember, you know, drug dealers killing other people. I was on a foot post walking, and I'm on the foot post, I'm walking, all of a sudden, I'm walking this way, this car's coming this way, he makes a turn, I see the back end of the car. All of a sudden, pow, pow, oh shit. Go running over there, 17-year-old kid, lured into the neighborhood by a girl that he liked, rival drug dealer, shot the freaking kid in the head, 17 years old, hole through his head, blood coming everywhere. I'm standing there calling for backup, shots fired, blah, 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 blah. All of a sudden, I see it. I hear it before I see it. A blood-curdling yell that you know without even looking, that's his mother. My baby. grabbing that woman. Please, please. You don't forget these things.
Yeah.
You hold them inside. And, there's a joke, there's a saying in law enforcement, if we didn't laugh, we'd cry. And that's, I think, why cops are such chop breakers. And we're not the only ones, My wife comes home from work as a nurse, and she throws her pocketbook down and says, if people only knew what real CPR looked like, I couldn't save somebody today. Emergency room doctors, firemen, all these guys, there's a lot that goes on there. And you carry it with you forever. And, it's funny because my kids and my wife tell me, you're so quick-tempered. And I said, well, I'm not quick-tempered as you think, for the reasons you think. I said, I recognize when there's a threat. I'm not a young man anymore. I'm 63 years old. I only got so much gas in the tank that if something goes wrong, I can't protect you the way I want to protect you. So, yeah, I'll react fast. I will direct my stuff towards a threat like that, and make sure that So, I think that's really what it brings it down to.
So, you describe your wife as very, very strong. She's got a tough job. Did you ever, when you were on the job, did you ever discuss hard cases with her? Did you ever bring it home?
Well, that's two separate questions. I brought it home more than I should have, not realizing. I had a bad temper back then. My kids would never wake me up sleeping. My wife does, still to this day. They'll call from the door. But I didn't discuss cases because they were confidential. I discussed at the end when I did Operation Big Shot because I knew it was going to be in the newspaper. It was, Mafia. It was, major players on 116th Street. So I had to tell her at that time that if anybody ever comes up to you and comes up to me and calls me Anthony, just go with it. And that actually ended up happening one time. So I had to tell her some stuff, but I really didn't tell her what I was doing. And certainly when I was in the FBI, I didn't tell her what I was doing specifically. I tell her general things, but no. But I did bring it home more than I realized. I didn't realize it until I got off the police department, and probably still started to bring things home because you really can't tell anybody what's going on. You can't show any sign of weakness or fear. And you can't talk about it at work because I told you don't show any kind of weakness at work. They'll torture you to death. So I guess you come home sometimes and you might take it out. Definitely go drinking. There was a phase there where I was drinking way, way, way more than I should be drinking. So that's how you deal with it.
Did law enforcement affect your family?
My family?
Yeah.
No, I don't think it affected my family other than the fear that I was going to get hurt. Like I said, everybody knew in the 80s, cops were getting shot, cops were getting stabbed, cops were getting, constantly. And I would come home with a black eye, come home with this. We had an incident this is long before I met my wife. I locked up a gangbanger, and it was a funny story. I was actually working in the task force at the time. I lock up a gangbanger, and the guy tells me that I'm a dead man. You're a freaking dead man. I said, I'm a dead man? Dude, right? You don't even know who the hell you're dealing with. So at that time, I'm living with my aunt and uncle because I just got a police. Actually, it wasn't the task force. It's the 5-0. So I'm a dead man. Okay, I go to work the next day. The sergeant says, listen, this is a credible threat. I want you to go down to the borough and drive the prisoner wagon and just stay off the street. Okay, boss, I go down there. He don't tell nobody. So now my sergeant comes in. My sergeant, where's Delia? Where's Delia? Sergeant Karcher, crazy guy. Nobody knows where Delia is. What do you mean nobody knows where Delia is? Delia had a threat on him last night. Oh no. So now nobody could find me. The sergeant that sent me to the borough went home. Nobody knows where I am. I never missed a day of work in my life. Ever. Delia, where? Next thing I know, my aunt's getting a knock on the door. Listen, you know, your nephew, there was a death threat against him. They were going to kill him. He didn't show up for work. They're all looking. My uncle, being my uncle, and wasn't playing. Give me the name of this drug dealer. Give me the name of this gangbanger. Chris got a family too. Now the NYPD is trying to stop my family from going after this guy's family. So I'm driving the prison wagon, not knowing any of this going on. I walk into the borough, and all of a sudden the emergency teletype goes off. The paper's popping up. What's going on? Oh shit! What? What's happened? Fucking gang gotta grab the cop. I'm like, oh, what gang? I look, citywide thing, and the guy's, as I'm reading it, the guy's looking at me. He's like, you're the cop. You're Delia. I'm like, I ain't taking nowhere. Call up there. What the hell is going on? Where are you? I'm driving a prisoner wagon, Sergeant. My aunt's screaming, crying, you know. So, but that's what made it real to them. They're like, holy shit, like, this is real. And then my uncle Jerry, God rest his soul, nephew, come here. This guy played both sides of the world. You have a problem like that, you come to me. You let me know if you're getting a threat. Uncle Jerry, I'm wearing a badge. I can't have you go and chase. Stop. I'm in the biggest gang in the world. There's 40,000 of us and we all carry guns. Good point, nephew. Okay. Yeah, it affected the family that way, never knowing when they were going to get a phone call. You know, it's the same thing I say to everybody else, you know, just recently, you know, well, it's more than recently now, but my son got deployed right after 10/7. And nobody knew what was going to go on. And, you know, we tell people all the time, when you hear a cop get shot, you hear a guy in the Marine Corps or any branch of the service is deployed, and they find out it's not your son or your husband, but you know it's somebody's son or husband. And you know somebody's getting a bad call that day. And somebody's life is changing forever. And sometimes when you see the victims, you know, it's a saying I have all the time. You know, somebody's getting a bad call today. So, you know, and it teaches you to cherish life to the fullest. And I did. I started skydiving for my 60th birthday. My kids surprised me and they're like, Dad, we're all going skydiving with you. I'm like, no, I hadn't skydived in years. No, we're all going with you. The whole family except my chicken wife. Even my daughter, who's petrified, screaming the whole way down. I'm never doing this again. We all went skydiving. So I enjoy life to the fullest. I feel I owe that. I literally spend an hour in prayer every single morning, praying for every single cop I knew that died in the line of duty. Every single day, mention them by name, so that their names are never forgotten. And you just a lot of this stuff. A lot of the things that help get me through happen at 4 o'clock in the morning when I'm sitting outside my house and reflecting on how blessed I've been to have survived what I have survived, and how blessed I am to have the family that I have. And you know, it's a cliche, but it's really not. I heard somebody say one time, they're talking about the Marine Corps and talking about law enforcement, but either one. A lot of people go through life wondering if they ever made a difference in the world, but military and law enforcement, first responders, we don't have that problem. You know, I think if anything, we just wish we could have, certainly in my case, wish I could have did more. Wished I would have not made the mistakes I made. I just have to tell one more story because I was a rookie, and it will haunt me to the rest of my life. I've been to confession for it. They said it wasn't a sin, but young guy gets stabbed. He stole some drugs. I'm on at midnight in the projects. I hear somebody screaming. Don't even come over the radio. I hear somebody screaming in the courtyard. I go down. I never seen so much blood in my life. And he's stabbed in the legs. So he's telling me, I'm dying, I'm dying. I'm like, shut the fuck up, you're not dying. You got stabbed in the leg, you faggot. Man, chill out. I call for an ambulance because I got a half an hour on the job, but I think I'm a hairbag, And he died. He died. And I didn't try to help him because I thought I friggin' knew something. Maybe because he was a junkie. Maybe because I didn't want to get AIDS. Maybe. But I didn't help that guy. Not as a cop, as a human being. I watched the man bleed out because of whatever was running through my head. And nobody deserves to die in a courtyard like that without somebody trying to help them. So,
Yeah. Last question for you, Chris. Can you look back on when you started your career in law enforcement till now, and maybe it's dissipated a little bit since you've been retired, but did being in law enforcement affect the way that you see people and see society?
absolutely.
Okay, in what way?
I don't trust nobody at all. If you come to my house, my family will laugh. You'll laugh. It looks like Fort Knox. I got what I call the minefield, which is at night. I have motion sensor lights that pop on, cameras. Of course, got my firearms in a car. I am ready at all times because I've seen what happens to people in home invasions, the rapes, the murders, everything else. I don't want to be around people. I don't go into crowds. I hate being in crowds. I get a lot of anxiety when I go into a crowd. My wife tells me we can't enjoy a concert. We went to see a concert. Went to see Bob Seger, and she's watching Bob singing, and I'm pissed. And she's like, "What is wrong with you?" I'm like, "Look at the freaking security guys. They're all watching the show. Who's watching the fucking crowd in case an active shooter comes on?" She's like, "Would you stop? Would you freaking stop?" When the show's over, sit, don't get up. Where you going? What the show's over. Let the crowd go out. That's where the fights are gonna happen. That's where the shootings are gonna happen. Let it 10 minutes. 10 minutes, then we go. So I'm always watching everything. When I walk into a store, I never walk into a store. I'm looking what's going on. As soon as I walk in, I look at the cash register. Is there a robbery? I look where the coffee is. Is there a fight? No, everybody's good. Everybody looks happy. Good. All right, then I come in. So, same thing coming out. Watch for people staring. Watch for people. Little things that people don't realize. Like I'm walking with my daughter one day, and I had just taken money out of an ATM, and I'm walking, and this guy walks up and he says, "Oh man, you dress really nice. You got really nice shoes. Where'd you get those?" So I looked him in the face. I'm like, "I will knock you the fuck out." My daughter's like, "Dad." I says, "You think this motherfucking man is gonna freaking acknowledge a man's nice shoes? No, this guy's waiting for me to look down so he can take my money." Other things people don't think about. We had a German Shepherd when we first moved to Connecticut. My neighbor just moved there. I don't know these people. He's feeding my dog treats. I go over. I'm like, "Hey, how you doing? How you doing? What's your name?" "Pete. Pete. Let me ask you a question." "What's that?" I said, "What's your freaking problem?" "Whoa, what do you mean, what's my problem? Why are you feeding my dog? The only people that feed my dog are pedophiles, or you want to rob my fucking house because you want the dog to be friendly to you." I said, "You feed my dog again, I'm going to break both your fucking legs." We became best of friends. So he's like, "This is Brookfield, Connecticut, not the Bronx." He felt so bad, the guy started cutting my lawn for me. "You ain't got to cut my lawn. You ain't got to do nothing. I just don't want you this dog is here to protect my family. So he used to tell me all the time, I'd never seen nothing like. I taught my kids. I had my kids in martial arts before they could walk. I would take them in the backyard, teach them how to fight with a knife. I would set up. I don't know if I should be set up shovels, because the head of a shovel's the head of a, all through the yard with the pellet gun. Headshots only. Pa, 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 pa. I got no wonder why my son's in the Marines. But I wanted them. I was not the tough guy. I was never the tough guy. So I had to figure out how to get in and out without getting into a fight. And if I did get into a fight, I had to end it as quickly as possible. So I didn't want that for my kids. I wanted them all to know how to defend themselves, how to fight, how to stand up for themselves, not to be a victim. You know, a lot of people teach their kids, you respect authority. You do what the teacher says. You do. Those are the kids getting molested, all right, because they were taught to respect authority. I said, no, somebody makes you feel uncomfortable. I said, you knock their face. I don't give a shit if it's a teacher. I want to talk to you in private. No, you ain't talking. You talking to me right here. You're free. You ain't talking to me nowhere else. You know, those type of things. I taught my kids, you don't have to respect an adult. If you will respect an adult if there's somebody that should be respected. Because I don't want to end up in jail the rest of my life because I got to whack this dude that hurt my kid. So, although the older I get, the less a life sentence means to me, but.
Chris, thank you so much for the interview. Really appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you very much for having me, and thank you so much for what you do. Like I said, when I saw what your show was about, I wanted to do this show because I wanted other cops. Maybe they don't have access to you, but I would love for other officers to find somebody that they could share their story. Because cops get a bum rap, especially nowadays, but almost all of them are doing it from the heart, and their families pay the price too.
Yeah.
But thank you.
Thank you.